Hello, this is John from Mushroom Adventures. Today I'm going to be talking about a camping trip that we took July of 2020 from northern Indiana to the Black Hills of South Dakota. Below are the details of our planned 11-day camping trip out west. We planned the trip for mid-July. Traveling to the Black Hills, we chose to drive through Illinois and Iowa. On the way home, the plan was to drive through Minnesota and Wisconsin. The entire trip, we will be camping in our 28-foot Cherokee travel trailer. Total of 4 people on the trip, my wife and I, plus our 2 boys, aged 7 and 9. The trip consisted of 6 states, around 2,500 miles, 10 nights, and a ton of lifelong memories. Pre-trip planned activities include the world's largest truck stop in Iowa, the Great Plains Zoo in Sioux Falls, the Sioux Falls, Wall Drug, Mount Rushmore, Hot Springs, Mammoth Dig Site, Evans Plunge, Custer State Park, Needles Highway, Mount Rushmore KOA, Crazy Horse, Bear Country USA, Tramway Adventure Park, Rapid City Dinosaur Park, Badlands National Park, and Wisconsin Dells. Day 1 started off by driving 8094 from northwest Indiana, continued on 80 through Illinois into Iowa. After driving 6 to 7 hours, our first day on the road was in the books. We stopped at Des Moines, Iowa KOA West for the night. We didn't have reservations, but this ended up being a great campground, just 1.5 miles north of 80. The campground was a perfect start to our vacation. We got a pull-through, full hookup campsite. At check-in, we ordered pizza and wings, which were delivered to our campsite after a quick swim in the pool. All the amenities of the campground seemed new and very clean. The pool was a nice, small pool, restrooms were clean, and there was even a kitchen area that was open for guest use. There was a dog park near our campsite and a park for the kids. Day 2, we departed the Des Moines, Iowa KOA, heading for Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We were driving west on 80, then north to Sioux Falls for our second night. Our stop in Sioux Falls was our first planned activity, which was a stop at the Great Plains Zoo. It was a perfect opportunity to get out of the truck and walk for a few hours before a stay at the Yogi Bear Sioux Falls. Overall, the zoo was clean and a great place for kids and adults to have fun enjoying great summer weather. After the zoo, we headed to Yogi Bear, where we will stay for the night. We did drive by the falls, but didn't stop as the family wanted to get to the campground for some pool time. I would recommend the Yogi Bear Sioux Falls. From the moment we pulled in, the customer service was great. The park looked new, and the campsite was in great location right off the highway. Poolside, they had a great cafe which served really good steak tips and cold drinks. The kids loved the large pool and jumping pillow. Day 3 had us heading from Sioux Falls to the Black Hills. Overall, day 3 felt like the longest drive of the trips. Even though we were traveling in the same state of South Dakota the whole day, it is a very wide state. GPS originally said 5.5 hours for the trip, but I believe it took around 8 hours with stops and a terrible storm as we entered the Black Hills. All the signs convinced us to stop at Wall Drug. It was well worth the stop, and the donuts were really good, so I recommend getting a snack. They do serve food there, but we did not eat at the cafe. We were at Wall Drug when we originally heard about a bad storm coming through. We decided we would leave immediately and try to beat the storm. We didn't. As we entered the last 45 minutes of the trip, we hit strong winds in the mountains with no safe place to pull over. Luckily, my truck handled the trailer extremely well, and we were able to get to our campsite safe and sound. This was the first drive out west, and seeing a few storms in the distance as we traveled, I realized that the storms approach and winds are much different than in the Midwest. Before we got to the campground, we made a needed stop at the Walmart in Rapid City for food and other essentials for the next week. The parking lot was very easy to get in and out of, and parked with no issues. The last leg of our journey on day 3 had us driving to the Gulch KOA from the Rapid City Walmart. Our GPS took us on Route 16 north into Hill City via Keystone Road, which led us to the backside of the resort. There is a sign saying that there was no entry for towing a vehicle or unregistered guest. So we went through Hill City using Route 385, then to the KOA. If we would have went south on 16A, we would have drove through the town of Keystone, past Mount Rushmore, then driven 244 to the KOA. The checking in process was easy and very welcoming. The office/store building is huge. They have ATV rentals, car rentals, souvenirs, food, and cold drinks for sale. The cafe serves hot food and ice cream, which is at the main entrance of the resort. There is a tent for breakfast. They had pancakes and cinnamon rolls each morning at a very reasonable price. We camped on site 340 and had family on site 341. I like our site and would recommend getting sites 340 to 346 as they have a huge beautiful field behind the sites. The sites were short walk to free mini golf, a pool and a hot tub, and an outpost store, but is a long walk to the main store and the entrance of the resort for ice cream and the cafe. Day 4, our first full day in the Black Hills. The plan was to visit Mount Rushmore Memorial and Bear Country, USA. Our first stop was Mount Rushmore. The monument was amazing. The whole family enjoyed the day as we walked the trail to get up close, took pictures by the monument, went to the mini museum, went to the souvenir shop, and just had a lot of fun at the memorial. After the amazement of Mount Rushmore, we went to Bear Country, USA in Rapid City. This is a drive-through wildlife park. As great as the driving part of Bear Country was, we enjoyed the walking tour even more. The baby bears in the one area were so much fun to watch. A great day for the kids and adults. Would definitely recommend Bear Country, USA. And of course, if you're planning a trip to South Dakota, Mount Rushmore doesn't disappoint. Day 5, we drove to Hot Springs, South Dakota to visit the Mammoth dig site and Evans Plunge. The Mammoth dig site is an actual real-life dig site that the public can explore. They even had an area for the kids to dig for fake/replica mammoth bones. Another tourist activity that adults, along with the kids, can have a great time. After the Mammoth dig, we stopped for a quick pizza in the town of Hot Springs and talked about our next adventure, swimming in real hot springs water. At first, pulling up to the building, we were considering passing on paying to swim at Evans Plunge and just going back to the campground to swim. We decided to try it, and I'm so glad we did. It was so cool. There were pools inside and outside, including a water slide and an obstacle course in the water. The water was a perfect temperature, 87 degrees year-round. Our family had a blast swimming for hours. On the way back to the KOA, we drove through Wind Cave National Park, and it was beautiful. We saw lots of prairie dogs, deer, and stopped for many of pictures. Day 6, we had plans for Needles Highway and Custer State Park. From the KOA, we took 244 to Route 87, which is Needles Highway. This is a beautiful scenic road up the mountain. If you're driving an RV or pulling a trailer, you do want to do your research on the clearances. We've seen one RV trying to turn around because they couldn't make it through one of the tunnels. Needles Highway is around a 14-mile section of Highway 87. We took that to the Custer Park Wildlife Loop. We did stop at the visitor center and got maps of the park and talked to the ranger regarding some information on the animals in the park. The wildlife loop at Custer was great. We saw 3 different herds of bison. One of them was huge, about 40 to 50 bison. We saw deer, but the highlight for the kids was the wild donkeys. We parked, got out, got to pet and feed the donkeys. There were about 6 to 10 of them. Total time from leaving the campground driving through Needles Highway and the wildlife loop took about 3 to 4 hours. So make sure to bring some snacks, a lunch, and a drinks. We ate lunch in Custer and took a photo with Dino, a statue that's still standing from an old Flintstones theme park created in the 1960s and closed in 2015. It's at the far end of the small town. After lunch, we headed back to the KOA, but not before a stop at Crazy Horse. Total time at Crazy Horse was about an hour to an hour and a half. We watched a video of how the memorial started and even took a couple rocks home from the mountain with a donation. Definitely worth the time and money spent. Day 7, our plans of Sylvan Lake and the night show at Mount Rushmore. After talking with some neighbors at the campground our first night, we listened to their advice on visiting and hiking at Sylvan Lake. Sylvan Lake was a short trip from the KOA using 244 and Route 87. This is the same route that we went to Needles Highway and Custer State Park. The hike was a short 1 mile hike around the lake and can be completed by most people. There was a marked trail and beautiful scenery the whole way. There is a beach for swimming and an area to fish. We spent about 2 to 2.5 hours total on our hike and exploring around the lake. Well worth the time. The Mount Rushmore Night Show. Very cool event where the faces are lit. Total time was an hour. A great activity for a summer night in the Black Hills. Day 8, our last full day in the Black Hills. We planned for the Tramway Adventure Park and the Rapid City Dinosaur Park. Our last full day in the Black Hills was a relaxing and fun family day. After a pancake breakfast at the KOA, we headed to Rapid City to the Dinosaur Park. The Dinosaur Park is in Rapid City. It was a fun and a relaxing activity for young kids. If you are traveling with adults or older kids, this may be one activity that you can leave out. Keystone is a small town near Mount Rushmore. We walked the stores and shopped for some souvenirs and ate lunch at an upstairs outside cafe. It was the nice little town to walk around. Rushmore Tramway Adventure Park was the highlight of the day. The park was so much fun. We chose to ride on a tube race, which all 4 of us got to do at the same time and race each other, and there was an escalator to bring you up to the top of the mountain, so there was no climbing. Then we did the alpine slide a couple of times. At the top of the mountain, the views were amazing of Keystone and Mount Rushmore. This is a must-do for families that like a little adventure and high-speed fun. After talking to a business owner from Keystone, we got some advice for one last scenic drive. Iron Mountain Road is just outside of Keystone and is a great scenic drive with beautiful views of Mount Rushmore. Day 9, starting our journey home. As disappointing as it was to leave the Black Hills, it was time to start heading east. After our last family pictures at the KOA, we headed to the Badlands National Park. The Badlands exit is the same as the Wall Drugs. The kids wanted to stop at Wall Drug 80-foot Dinosaur that is seen from 90, and we filled up with diesel fuel. On 240, there is a prairie dog farm, so we stopped for 20 to 30 minutes. The Badlands beauty cannot be described in words or even pictures. It is another must-do if you're heading to the Black Hills. We only hiked for about 30 minutes, but really could have spent a lot more time exploring the park and hiking and driving. Next time we go to the Black Hills, we will plan to camp at least one night here. We passed a campground at the park, and there are boondocking areas that are supposed to be really nice. We drove into Minnesota and stopped for a late night at the KOA right off of 90 in Jackson, Minnesota. It was a decent little KOA, good for one night stop. Day 10, Minnesota to Wisconsin Dells. We arrived in the Dells after a 4-hour drive. We had reservations at the Yogi Bear, Wisconsin Dells. We only planned for one night in the Dells. The Yogi was an older campground, but still really nice. The pool had a small water slide area for the kids and a cafe with food and drinks. After some swimming, we head to the deer park. We've been to the park a couple times before, and it's always a great time. They have over 100 deer that can be fed by hand. It was so much fun. After another trip to the Yogi pool, we went to one of our favorite places to eat in the Dells, a restaurant called Knuckleheads, which delivers the food by train. The kids love the train deliveries and the parents will enjoy the great food. They do have an arcade with some kid rides in the back of the building, which also kept us busy for a while. After visiting the Kalahari Hotel arcade, we made our way back to the campground for our last night on the road. Day 11, Wisconsin Dells back to Indiana. Of course, we could have spent more time in Wisconsin Dells, but we had to get home. The final leg of our trip was a 4 to 5 hour drive back to Indiana. Our first multi-state camping trip was in the books. We all stayed safe and healthy, and everyone had an amazing time that we will remember for a lifetime. Home sweet home. Overall, just some information and thoughts on our trip. It is the great American road trip that every family should make. I thought our kids were at a perfect age, being 7 and 9. They didn't complain too much on the drives, and they were always ready to have a great time on our planned activities. I wish we had planned for one more night in the Black Hills. This would have given us a chance to relax at the KOA more and swim or find other tourist area to explore. If you are going on the chuck wagon dinner, make sure to make reservations. It was filled up, so we didn't get to go, which wasn't the worst thing since most evenings the kids were ready to swim or relax and the dinner was fairly expensive. We tried to rent a 4-seat ATV, but they were reserved. Generally, I like driving through Iowa better than the northern route through Minnesota. Just my opinion. My truck is a 2017 Nissan XD with a Cummins turbo diesel. The truck weighs just over 7,000 pounds. The towing rating is 12,600 pounds versus my trailer weight, which is empty, is 6,200 pounds. The truck pulled amazing. The diesel handling the mountains was great going up and down. Before purchasing the truck, I towed with a full-size SUV, and I just didn't think we would have felt safe at times with the SUV on this trip. It could have been very dangerous driving in the storm that we got caught in heading into the Black Hills. Towing in most of the Midwest states, pushing the limits of your tow vehicle may work. Before taking a trip out west, please make sure to do your research on the GRVW of your vehicle and the trailer weight. If you have a diesel truck, fill up in Rapid City, as Keystone and Hill City don't have diesel fuel. Read the signs for the next fuel station. There was only one place on 90 that was a long distance between filling stations. I believe it was east of the Wall exit. All you can eat pancakes at the KOA was a great way to start the day. At only $2.50, it was worth the short walk from the campsite. The KOA has free mini golf, which the kids played each night around dark. The KOA has a small slide that's fun for kids and adults. When doing research, I read some reviews on flooding a lot of sites at the KOA. We didn't see much rain, so I didn't see any flooding. If you have a trailer or an RV, don't keep your awning out when you're away from your site. The winds pick up quickly, and we've seen somebody's awning get ruined. Things we will do next time: the chuck wagon dinner, ATV rental, more time exploring and hiking in the Badlands, spend a night camping in the Badlands, would camp one more night in the Black Hills, and then do the 1880s train ride. I hope this video will help you plan your next trip to the Black Hills. Please subscribe and like the video. I will be adding more videos of our family adventures. If you have any questions or suggestions, just leave it in the comment. Also, we are looking for our next family camping trip. Let us know if you have great places to visit. Thank you for watching.